parts of next week. So bottom line, we are going to have to watch this, and even if this track verifies, we're likely to see impacts here in Acadiana. And of course, if it slides a little bit further to the west, we're going to show you the GFS model here, which kind of shows that could be even more significant impacts for us here in Acadiana. So we're going to have to see how it plays out here in the next couple of days. I'm going to show you two models, the first of which, the European model here, taking it through the rest of the weekend. Tomorrow's weather, by the way, not looking all that bad. Pretty typical summertime pattern. Highs back in the mid-90s and about a 10 to 20% chance for pop-up storms in our afternoons. But then heading into Monday afternoon, European model has Marco making landfall pretty close to where the Hurricane Center thinks, somewhere into southeastern Louisiana, just off to our east. So that's where the worst of the surge and rainfall and really all the heavy impacts would stay if this were to verify. But then again, we are at least subject to some change to that. And then by Tuesday, maybe making a turn to the west here, which would bring rain chances and some gusty conditions to us here heading into Tuesday afternoon. That lifts out by Wednesday, and then notice the next storm, tropical storm Laura here, could be Hurricane Laura by this point, early Wednesday morning, making landfall close to the mouth of the Mississippi River, once again making its way into southeastern Louisiana. Again, the European model keeping both systems a little bit further off to our east, but we're still going to have to watch and see if that does indeed verify. And this takes us into Wednesday afternoon, and finally it begins to lift out heading into Thursday and Friday, but still dealing with some tropical moisture lingering for later into next week. Now, I'm going to show you the GFS model here, a little bit different outcome for both systems. Here comes Marco making landfall somewhere in the southeastern Louisiana by Monday afternoon, but then the GFS here, the difference in the afternoon run, keeping it kind of along the coastal parishes and then maybe heading west. That bend to the west is more than likely going to happen, we think, at this point. And then bringing up some squally weather here by Tuesday afternoon. And then here comes Laura here, potential Hurricane Laura. And again, GFS here a little bit stronger on the system, could be nearing Category 2, maybe briefly major hurricane status, and a little bit further to the west as it makes landfall somewhere into southwestern, south central Louisiana. Of course, if that were to verify, we would be right on the eastern side of that, and the situation would be a little bit worse for us here in Acadiana. So you kind of see the difference in the models here. Still a little bit of uncertainty, excuse me. So we're going to have to see exactly what the trends are going to be the next couple of days. Remember, we look for trends, not just one particular model run. But at least over the last couple of days, the trends have kind of shifted closer to Louisiana as a whole with the models. So that's something we're kind of thinking, at least at this point, again, heading into next week. Now, brand new this afternoon, we do have hurricane watches here. Let's see if I can get all of them. I think I missed a couple during the newscast, but hurricane watch is in effect for Vermilion, St. Mary Parish, and Iberia Parish as well, and Lower St. Martin parish here. So that means hurricane conditions could be likely within the next 36 to 48 hours. And then we have tropical storm watches in effect for St. Landry Parish, Avoyelles Parish, and let's see, Upper St. Martin Parish as well. As of right now, it doesn't include the city of Lafayette and our southwestern parishes at this time, but that could change. And keep in mind, these watches are likely, potentially could be upgraded to warnings heading through the day tomorrow. So we'll of course keep you updated on that, but that's the latest on the watches that we're dealing with at this point. So as far as the threats are concerned, still, I know a lot of you have questions how much rain we're going to see, how bad it's going to be out there, but honestly, still a little bit too early to tell specific impacts at this point, because remember, it's heavily dependent on where that track looks to set up. But here's what we're thinking, at least at this point. The tides could be much lower if the storms stay off to our east, of course, but any shifts to the west could see a little bit higher tides here. But right now could elevate 2 to 3 feet above normal. But again, that's heavily dependent on where those tracks set up. And if the Hurricane Center track verifies, at least as of this evening, tides would be a little bit lower. As far as rain is concerned, with Marco, perhaps 1 to 3 inches. Could see some localized heavier amounts, especially off to our east and eastern Acadiana. And then for Laura at this point, we'll go with about 2 to 6 inches of rainfall. But again, any one spot could be dealing with a little bit more than that, and localized flooding could certainly be a concern. Now, as far as the winds here, for Marco, we'll go with about 20 to 30 miles per hour. Could see some gusts up to tropical storm force of 45 miles per hour. And then for Laura, again, small changes or subtle changes in that track could have a big difference as far as how strong the winds are going to get. But right now we'll go 30 to 50 miles per hour with gusts perhaps up to hurricane force here, again heading a little bit later on into next week. And what I'll point out here, Marco, the timetable, not sure if I mentioned this, but I'll go back and say it here. Marco would be Monday afternoon into early Tuesday, and then Laura would be anywhere from Wednesday into the Thursday time frame. So that's kind of what we're dealing with here. Two storms on the heels of each other, meaning someone in southeastern Louisiana, or in South Louisiana as a whole, could be dealing with two tropical impacts here back to back heading into next week. So of course we're going to have to continue to closely monitor. And the tornado threat stays pretty low. Again, these are more tropical funnels. They're not going to be your big tornadoes you see out in the plains during severe weather season, but nonetheless more weaker tornadoes. We'll keep an eye on that, but as long as at this time the threat seems pretty low. So we're going to roll through here the next 10 days. Tomorrow, your typical summertime pattern, and I would advise here pretty much tomorrow, if you haven't done so already, good day to kind of load up on your hurricane supply list, because by next week we could start to see tropical impacts again. Marco, we're thinking Monday into Tuesday would be the time frame there, and then Laura would be Wednesday into Thursday. But these rain chances are going to be highly dependent on that track. Again, if Marco stays a little bit further off to our east, these rain chances actually go down for Monday into Tuesday, and kind of similar story for Laura. So we're going to have to see how this plays out, but nonetheless expect at least tropical storm, perhaps hurricane conditions heading into most of next week. So that kind of wraps up the full discussion there. I'm going to go over to the computer, see if any of you have any questions at this time. Hopefully, maybe I answered your questions during that live session, but we'll go ahead and take a look, see if we can answer any more questions that you may have here. And again, this is something we talk about. A lot of people say we get overexcited and we wish that it would come here and we get more airtime and things like that. But really, it's just to make sure that all of you are fully prepared in the event we do see a tropical storm and or a hurricane, could see both here, make its way toward the Acadiana region. Of course, you want to keep everybody as safe as possible. So let's see here if we can get our Facebook page pulled up. Getting it here. Might have to go over here for 1 second. And thanks for all of you joining us and trusting in our abilities to keep you safe, because that is what it's all about, and of course why we get into the business. Let's see. Go. Okay, let's see here. Getting into some of the questions. It may take me a while to kind of scroll through some of these, but I'm here as long as y'all would need me to be. Next report comes out at 10 o'clock. 7 o'clock was just an update on how strong the two storms were. We didn't see really a whole lot of drastic changes in that. In fact, let me, before I get into that, I'm going to try to back. Okay, I won't be able to do that this time, but yeah, the next track update is going to come out at 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, we'll get a new, not only track, but also an update on the intensity as well. Let's see. So again, like we mentioned yesterday, we will not see the two storms combine into one by the Fujiwara effect. That's dynamically impossible. Rather, one would likely perhaps strengthen while the other one indirectly weakens the other one. So we're not going to see a mega storm or anything like that. I know that was kind of thrown around on social media and kind of the hot topic the last couple of days, but we're not going to be dealing with a situation like that. Let's see, there we go. So there's the tropical threats. I'll leave that up for y'all in case y'all had any questions regarding what we can be dealing with. And again, this is subject to change over the next couple of days. This is not set in stone. It's highly dependent on where these storms end up tracking here over the next several days. So let's see, it might be easier here. Having a little trouble with the computer. Still too early. Okay. Yeah, and again, we can't go city by city, street by street here. That's just something we can't do at this point. We have to give a general overview for Acadiana as a whole. Let me see, I think a lot of the comments are blending in from our other Facebook Live, so I'm going to try to scroll through. Sorry about that. Let's see. Okay, this may be a little bit better. So the storm surge again, it's on the graphic here we have posted. Subject to change as of right now, tides we could see elevate 2 to 3 feet above normal. That again is also subject to change, but based on the forecast track we're getting as of 4 o'clock, that's the trend. And actually some of that could be below normal if the two storms stay a little bit further off to our east. So of course that would be better news for Acadiana. Let's see here. Let me, some questions on the hurricane watches. Pull up that graphic for everybody here. Let's see. So currently, as of this afternoon, hurricane watches, if we can somehow pull that up there back on production, or I can just play it live here. See if that'll work. It may not be able to let me. Anyway, the hurricane watch is in effect as of right now. Again, this means that hurricane conditions could be possible in the next 36 to 48 hours here for Vermilion Parish, St. Mary Parish, Lower St. Martin Parish, and Iberia Parish at this time. That's the hurricane watch, and the tropical storm watches we're dealing with right now include St. Landry Parish, Avoyelles Parish, and Upper St. Martin Parish. So again, this means that tropical storm and hurricane conditions could be likely in the next 36 to 48 hours. And of course, we could see these upgraded to warnings here heading into tomorrow. So of course, we'll be keeping an eye on that. Let's see. How much? Okay, like I said, I'm kind of getting combined comments from this and our other breaking news story at this time, so I'm having a little trouble getting through all your comments. I'm going to try to briefly, and again, I'm here for you all, you know, as long as I need to be to keep everyone up to date on what's going on. So I'm going to try to give the best information I can, what we know at this point. Maybe run through a couple of things one more time in case if you're just joining us here. Maybe I'll start, I always love to look at the water vapor imagery because I think it does a great job of highlighting what's going on as far as steering currents are concerned. And of course, we have the Bermuda High off to our east in the Atlantic Ocean, a little bit stronger than we anticipated, at least through the last couple of days. And that's going to likely continue to guide Laura here off to the west, heading into the central Gulf of Mexico by early next week. And Marco, a little bit stronger today, simply because it avoided the Yucatan Peninsula or land interaction, so it was able to kind of get its act together here. We saw winds increase to 65 miles per hour, which is a moderate to strong tropical storm. We have a trough that extends into the Gulf of Mexico as well, so with a stronger system, or a little bit stronger system like Marco, that's able to feel, if you will, feel the weakness aloft and kind of be drawn toward the north. So that's why we're seeing the shift in the track. The last couple of days, models were thinking maybe to run into the Yucatan, kind of be disorganized and kind of miss that weakness and essentially be nudged further to the west by the ridge. But since it's a little bit stronger, we think it'll kind of move more toward the north here in the next couple of days. So latest tracks, again, we'll get a new one here coming up at 10 o'clock. Winds, though, 65 miles per hour for Marco. And again, there's the shift in the track. If you were just joining us or if you were with us last night, this has been the biggest change really in the last 24 hours. The track yesterday was taking it more into Texas. That has shifted now further off to the north, making a landfall potentially as a Category 1 hurricane. Winds of around 75 miles per hour right around the mouth of the Mississippi River. Here heading into Monday afternoon. So if you're just joining us, I know we kind of ran through this already, but I know new people are joining, and I just want to keep everyone as up to date as possible. And of course, I'm here to keep all of you safe and in the loop as far as our two tropical systems. We're working on getting back up the wall here. Let's see if I appear. There I am. Okay, cool deal. So here we go. Again, Monday afternoon coming in as a Category 1 storm right around the mouth of the Mississippi River. That is off to our east. So if this track does verify, the worst of the impacts would stay also off to our east. But of course, the forecast is subject to change, and some of the models aren't buying into that just yet. So we'll have to continue to watch. But nonetheless, the general motion of the storm should be off to the north again, starting to feel that weakness aloft, and then perhaps making a bend to the west heading into Tuesday, which would likely bring us tropical impacts here in Acadiana with some squally weather and windy conditions out there. So here's Laura again running it through. Once again, winds at 50 miles per hour as of 7 o'clock, moving to the west at 18, and it's going to continue to move over the islands into Cuba here. So we're not expecting this to really intensify over the next couple of days, maybe staying at around 50 miles per hour, so pretty weak tropical storm. But once it gets into the Gulf of Mexico, keep in mind a lot of warm waters out here and favorable environmental conditions are likely to set up. So we do think this will have a chance to gradually intensify here as it heads towards the southeastern Louisiana coast, heading into Wednesday afternoon. So keep in mind, we'll have Margot coming in late on Monday into Tuesday morning, and then we'll have Laura right on its heels, potentially another hurricane making landfall in South Louisiana once again by Wednesday afternoon. So really, this could be an unfortunate situation here as we head through most of next week with two landfalling, perhaps hurricanes in South Louisiana. Now, where exactly they're going to set up, again, notice the cone here for Laura extends all the way to almost the Texas, Louisiana state line, and then also close to the Florida Panhandle. So there's still a decent amount of uncertainty here. I think by tomorrow we should start to get a better understanding. But really, as of today, we started to see the model guidance come into better agreement with a scenario similar to this, but again, like we're going to show here in the GFS, actually shows it a little bit further to the west. But again, so we don't want to focus too much on the center line here. Keep that in mind. This is not a set in stone forecast, but nonetheless, something that even if this track were to verify, we still see some impacts here in Acadiana, especially eastern Acadiana. But again, that track is subject to kind of wobble back and forth here over the next couple of days. So of course, we turn to the Euro and GFS models to give us some sort of a guidance with the forecast, and you can see this is the European model taking tropical storm, potentially Hurricane Marco into southeastern Louisiana, pretty in good agreement with the Hurricane Center, and then making that bend toward the west heading into Tuesday morning. And then here comes Laura, perhaps a little bit stronger. That's kind of been the thinking over the last couple of days, taking it once again close to southeastern Louisiana. So back-to-back hurricane hits here in a very short period of time. So very serious situation unfolding for someone. Could be us here in Acadiana, but at least at this time, the models here a little bit further to the east, or at least the Euro model here a little bit off to our east, and then kind of takes it through Louisiana into Mississippi by Wednesday before it kind of gets out of here later on into next week. The GFS model, similar but a little bit different. So here we go, running it through. Takes Marco again into southeastern Louisiana by Monday afternoon, but then kind of keeps it weak, parallels the coastal parishes, and then keeps the squally weather in our forecast heading into Tuesday. So impacts from Marco for us here in Acadiana, at least according to the GFS model. And I think regardless, we'll likely see at least some form of impacts from Marco and also Laura GFS a little bit more aggressive with Laura as it approaches southwestern and south central Louisiana here, so a little bit further to the west compared to what the European model is showing, and also a little bit stronger. Of course, this would put us on the eastern side here as it makes its way through, and potentially more significant impacts for us here in Acadiana. So bottom line, we have to prepare for two potentially landfalling hurricanes somewhere in South Louisiana here heading into most of next week, and again, back to back. So again, that's just something we're going to have to be prepared for before the weather kind of clears out heading later into next week. And of course, hurricane watches remain for Vermilion, St. Mary, and lower St. Martin parishes, also Iberia Parish as well. And then tropical storm watches are in effect now for St. Landry Parish, Avoyelles Parish, and Upper St. Martin Parish. And that simply means that either tropical storm or hurricane conditions are possible here in the next 36 to 48 hours, and these are likely to be upgraded to warnings at some point heading into tomorrow. But again, all this is subject to change based on the forecast tracks, and we're going to know more here coming up at 10 and through the day tomorrow. And then we continue to go over the impacts here. I'll kind of step out here, let you see what we're expecting, and all of this is highly dependent on the track forecast. Further it goes to the east, both of them, the further they go to the east, these impacts come down. So we'll keep a slight risk for tides at this point. Tides could increase 2 to 3 feet, at least at this point, based on the information we have, but again, subject to change. And flooding rain, potentially 1 to 3 inches locally here for Marco. Localized areas could see more, especially a little bit further to the east, places like St. Mary Parish, Eastern Iberia Parish, places like that. And we could see a little bit more rain, again, depending on the track here from Laura, but at this point we're going a enhanced 2 to 6 inches of rainfall, and again, localized spots could see a little bit more than that. And let's see, wind damage here, I think, at least as far as the tracks are concerned, intensity-wise, we could see stronger winds for Laura simply because it could be a stronger system, and it may move a little bit closer to Acadiana as a whole. So that's something we'll have to keep an eye on. But again, for Marco, possible to see 20 to 30 miles per hour and some squalls that move in, gusts up to tropical storm force. And then for Laura, we could see tropical storm conditions, of course, with gusts up to hurricane force winds. But again, the intensity forecast, I keep saying this, the intensity forecast is the least reliable out of the two, the other one being the track forecast. So we can easily see a little bit of a stronger system for both storms moving in somewhere in South Louisiana, so that could impact the winds, but that's what we'll go with at this point. Tornado threat stays pretty low through both of these systems. Keep in mind, these are more tropical funnels, weaker tornadoes. It's not your big, dangerous tornadoes you see out in the plains during severe weather season, but nonetheless something we'll have to keep an eye on. So one last look here. We'll go your next 10 days. Rain chances pretty quiet tomorrow, so I think tomorrow's the day to kind of finalize your plans, get the supplies ready to go in the event we see the storms continue to track the way they're forecasted to. Pretty typical summer day out there. Rain chances around 10 to 20%. And then again, rain chances ramp up heading into Monday and Tuesday, really due to Marco here. But again, if that track goes a little bit further to the east, like the forecast is, at least at this point, rain chances can certainly go down. But this would be later in the day, Monday into Tuesday. And then for Laura, it would be Wednesday into Thursday. But all subject to change as far as where the track is going to end up here in the next couple of days. So I had a little trouble with the questions on Facebook Live since we kind of combined the two, but I'll try to go back and answer questions throughout the evening that you have. I'll try to get to as many as possible. Of course, hopefully I answered any of the questions that you had. And of course, we'll have more coming up, including the new track forecast for both storms tonight on Acadiana's News Channel at 10. From the KATC Weather Lab, I'm meteorologist Bradley Benwell. You have a great evening.